The last section of our study guide was determining equivalent fractions. This is again where we use kind of what we know about fractions, what we know about some benchmark fractions to decide which fraction is larger. That's all we really need to do. We're not necessarily needing to convert one into the other. We're just trying to decide which one is bigger. So we're using what we know about fractions to try to figure that out. So the first one we have here is 8/10 and 3/8. 8/10 and 3/8. So one of the strategies we learned is to think about half. Is 3 more than half of 8 or less than half of 8? Well, I know 4/8 would be half, so this is a little bit less than half. But if I look at this one, 8/10, that's more than half. So since this is more than half, this is less than half, I know that this one is going to be bigger than this one. Okay, the next one we have 2/3 and 4/9. 2/3 and 4/9. Again, I look at these and I'm trying to decide, is one bigger than half or less than half? I know 2/3 is more than half because 1.5 thirds, that would be half. This is a little more than half. 4/9, I know 4.5 ninths would be half. Half of 9 is 4.5. So this is actually a bit less than half, and this is more than half. So again, since this is more than half, we would make this one larger. The next one we have is 9/10 and 10/11. This is close. Both of them are one away from being a whole. So we have to think about which one would be the largest. So there's a couple different ways you could think about it. One of the ways I like to think about is how far away is it from a whole? So if we were to divide this up, this has 9 out of 10 parts. So if I split this up into 10 parts, this is only missing 1/10, right? 1/10 away from being a whole. This one is 10 out of 11. So if we divided this up into 11 parts, this has 10. So this is only 1/11 away, right? Because it only needs one more 11th to be a whole. This is 1/11 away from a whole. This is 1/10 away from a whole. So this one, the piece that I need is smaller here to get to a whole than it is here. So this one is a bit larger. It's a little bit larger because it's missing only a little bit in order to be a whole. This one's missing a little bit bigger piece in order to be a whole. So that means this one is a bit larger. And then the last one we have -8/12 compared with -6/9. First thing I notice is they're both negative. So if one was negative and one was positive, that would be easy to tell. But they're both negative, so I really need to look at the fraction itself to decide which is bigger. So if I look at these 8/12, 6/9, before I try to figure it out, I want to make sure that, that both fractions are greater than a half, right? 6 out of 9, that's more than a half. 8 out of 12, that's more than a half. So another strategy I would use is to say, is there another version of these fractions that I could write that might help me compare them? So if I think about 6/9, I think I could divide the top and the bottom by 3. So if I did that, I would end up with 2/3, -2/3. So that's an equivalent fraction to this one. So I look at this one and I think, is there another way I could rewrite that? Because sometimes I can rewrite them in ways that help me compare. So if I think about this and I think, well, they're both even. Actually, I see 4 could come out of both. So if I divide by 4 and divide by 4, 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So this one is also -2/3. So again, I have to do a little bit of figuring in order to decide. I can't just guess, but if I do a little figuring, I can figure out that these are both the same. So these would be equal. These are equivalent fractions. -8/12 is equivalent to -6/9.